Welcome to another episode of Around the Grounds with the Property Baron. It's the 24th of July, 2026. I'm Jason Barron. Each week I'm joined by Nick Meredith, our man on the ground in Brisbane, and Hugo Fonseca, who leads the Property Baron Invest. We get together, we chat about all things property, what's happening in the markets. This is where we share what we're seeing around the grounds. No headlines, no hype, just real conversations, real insight, what's actually happening. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, good morning. How are
Lots
you?
to talk about, at the moment. There's a lot happening in the property market. We're actually seeing a bit of the fallout from the budget, bit of a market shift after some of the decisions that have been made, and we're working through the anti-money laundering legislation that came in. Bit of negative talk out there in the media about the market, so keen to get your thoughts and see what you think's really happening out there.
Yeah, there is a lot of negativity. Some of it's probably warranted, but certainly not all of it. There's, I don't know, if I was from my side of things and our side of things, and if I was a person trying to buy a property, hasn't been a time as good as this for a number of years. So it's all about your perspective and how you look at it. I think it's a great time.
Yeah, I agree. Some good deals out there at the moment. Stock's low. Agents are getting a little bit worried about not having the stock to keep them going.
Yeah, we're getting that.
Sure.
You're in that opinion, but I mean, we are in the middle of July, towards the end of July, which is traditionally a bit of a slower period. So, August into September, it'll start to pick up. I think there's some buyers just sitting on the sideline waiting, but by the time spring comes around, they'll sort of been able to absorb all the changes, get them, sort of settled. Everyone will settle down and just get on with it. And I think spring will just press on as it always does.
Possibly
I'm
with a few
actually-
changes.
I'm already seeing a bit of that even before spring, to be honest, particularly from an investor point of view. As you know, we didn't necessarily slow down with all these changes. We're still steady in terms of clients that we've been helping, but I'm starting to see a few more coming on and already understanding that this will pass as everything else does. So yeah, I think spring will definitely bring us back to positive territory. But also, I think a lot of people don't think about the fact that there's different markets, right? And so when you look at the news, the media, the only markets they're going to pick, or the only statistics or numbers they're going to pick, are going to be the ones that are negative, the ones that are going to tell the news, right? So, Melbourne, Sydney, et cetera, everything's crashing. It's all doom and gloom. And that is almost something that then perpetuates the fear and the panic out there. But just as quickly as they've switched to that, they'll switch back to, look, everything's booming now and we're back to the great days. So you just need to get in now and ride that wave.
Interestingly, we've got pretty busy with some of the SMSF purchasers looking to purchase before the deadline.
Yeah, that certainly made a
Right.
difference. The last 2-3 weeks, I wouldn't say frantic, but it certainly made it really busy. And there is a deadline. We've probably got August 9 is the cutoff. So we really would like to get those done in the next 10 days. We don't want to be in there on the last day trying to do them. So yeah, it's certainly been an uptick in that activity. So everyone that was ready, who was thinking about it, has decided, well, now I have to do it. So yeah, we've been busy in that aspect for sure.
Yeah. My main concern over the last few weeks has been how people are in a mindset of a bit of FOMO. So I've had a few conversations with clients where they didn't say directly, just buy anything. I just want to get in before it gets banned. But we have to really work with them and help them understand that it's not just about getting in for the sake of getting in and at all costs. You still need to get a quality property, right? So we're taking our time to make sure that we get it done. And we'll get it done, but it needs to be the right property, right?
Absolutely.
Definitely. And there's different markets out there at the moment. We've just recently launched the Property Baron on the Central Coast, where you're based, down in New South Wales, Hugo. Interesting doing a visit down there a little while back and seeing the difference between the markets, South East Queensland versus down there. There's a bit more doom and gloom and a bit more hesitation down in the New South Wales market that we're seeing.
Yeah, definitely. Especially here on the Central Coast, because it largely depends on the Sydney market. And that was one of the first ones to start slowing down, right? There's a lot of people that I would say upgrade from Sydney to the Central Coast. And that's not happening as much because they're struggling to sell their own property down in Sydney, or they're hanging on to it because they're seeing the prices drop a little bit in Sydney. So there's definitely been a bit of a slowdown. There's still buyers out there. And when I'm talking to agents, their feedback is along the lines of the fact that the ones that are out there are the committed ones. There's no one out there just having a look at the end of the day. If they're still out there and they're still looking, they're committed buyers and they're looking to actually secure something during this time. But apart from that, it's gotten a bit quieter because of Sydney.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more investors that have dropped out of the market for sure. But like you said, we we're pretty busy at the moment with investors and SMSF purchases. We're probably bucking the trend a little bit, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I haven't looked at the numbers to confirm 100%, but from memory, I don't think we're any quieter than we've been in the past. If anything, we might be around about as busy as we've been on average. So even through the budget announcements, the SMSF changes, we also actually, JC just reminded me, we've finally launched that tool we mentioned a few weeks ago to compare the different scenarios. So you can actually go in and crunch the numbers and put in, hey, if I buy an established property versus a new build, what does that look like in X amount of years? And based on your inputs, it'll actually tell you what the difference is. And that's been really helpful. We've shared that with a lot of our partners as well, brokers, etc. So if anyone that's listening wants early access to it, it's live, but it's not public to everyone. And more than happy to share the link and let people start using it for themselves and for their clients as well.
Yeah, that's a really good tool. A lot of people could use that. I could do with that at the moment just to see what the difference is going to be like for their purchases. How's the market going in Brisbane at the moment? More on the ground stuff, Nick?
Yeah, look, it's definitely slowed, Jason. But I think for the first time in a long time, the high-end prestige luxury market in Brisbane has definitely slowed. We're seeing properties stay on the market longer. We have seen probably one of the better houses in Brisbane has just come to market, actually, which is really interesting. In Prospect Street in Wilston. If anyone listening to this, I encourage you to jump on realestate.com or Domain and have a look at this one. It's a pretty exceptional property and owned by one of the real estate principals in Brisbane. It's a fantastic property. So there's still some really great luxury properties on the market. They are taking a little longer to sell, I'd say. The auction clearance rate in Brisbane is really down. I'm not sure that's the way I'd be selling at the moment if it was my property, but they are still pressing on with it. And look, their argument is that they're selling them after anyway. It's just getting some market guidance for sellers, which is probably a valid point. There's still buyers out there. Buyers are certainly being more selective. I think buyers are taking their time. They don't feel like they're rushed. 6 months ago, there was the FOMO, even at the $3-4 million mark. I think people felt like if they didn't make an offer, they were going to miss out. That's certainly changed. People are being a little bit more patient now, a bit more circumspect how they go about it. And we've seen over the last 6 weeks in particular in the really tightly held suburbs where it was super competitive, people are now actually getting some really good buys, considerably less than what they would have been 4 or 5 months ago. There's been some really good opportunities. And you go to open homes on the weekend, there's still no shortage of people out and about.
Still, stock volumes are pretty low though, hey?
Yeah, that's a big concern. And what you are finding is the good stock that comes on and that's competitively priced is still selling reasonably quickly. The stuff that hangs around is probably not meeting the market. But yeah, there is a shortage of stock. There's no doubt about that.
Up here on the Sunshine Coast, Noosa, the market here is probably a little bit similar. It's a much smaller market than Brisbane, obviously. It's pretty slow. I've been away for a few weeks, but just got back about a week ago. And it's interesting the change in conversations of, 3-4 weeks ago, the agents were getting a bit worried about properties not coming to market. But it seems just being out and about this week that the agents are looking at their pipeline growing and looking at starting to build coming into spring. Not sure it's going to be the busiest spring that we've ever had, but it does look like there's going to be a few more properties coming on. Interestingly, with the clearance rate dropping, we're seeing some properties come on for auction up at Noosa in the next little while. Probably more unique properties, like an unrenovated property on the water kind of thing. So I think there's still a room there for auctions if you've got a unique property, and there's going to be a bunch of interest. We're also seeing in this slower market, it's been slow for a few months now, a bit of movement with the agents changing around, leaving where they are and going to a new place or setting up their own business. It does happen in a slow market. We're starting to see a bit of that. So it'll be interesting to see how long this little downturn or slow period goes for and see if it picks up in spring or not. Hopefully it does. It's probably not a bad thing that the market slowed down because it was just going so strong for such a long time. It couldn't keep going on that same trajectory forever. So hopefully it comes back to a bit of a normal market. Properties start coming back on the market and we get back into things coming into spring.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm seeing a bit the same down here, but you just reminded me of something as well. I was talking to a friend the other day that was saying to me that it can't just always keep going up, which is true. No market just keeps going up. There's always corrections on and off. What a lot of people I think aren't thinking about right now, because we're so immersed in the current situation, is that if prices are dropping in certain areas, that means it becomes even more unfeasible to build, right? We've spoken about this before, where the cost to build something is actually higher than how much you can sell it for. If prices are dropping, that gap grows even further because the prices of construction and building materials, etc., aren't dropping. So once we come out of this, we will have the same, if not less, supply, but the demand will come back. So we'll be back to normal at some stage. Isn't being looked at because this is going to impact that as well.
Yeah, there's definitely a big gap between, say, buying an existing house and replacement costs in a lot of different parts of the market up here. Yeah, it's still expensive to build for sure. Had a look at a property that we helped a client to buy a couple of years back. They've just finished a major renovation on the Sunshine Coast. They spent a lot of money on it. Probably risked over capitalising, but it was a property that they wanted to live in forever or for a long, long time with the family. But they got to the end and they got a knock on the door from an agent with an offer from a buyer, and it was well and truly a suburb record. So there is certainly people out there with money looking to spend it. We've got a couple of good clients at the moment that really, really need to buy things with decent budgets. So there's definitely some people out there looking. As the market kicks on into spring, we're probably going to be largely sheltered from a lot of the things that are happening in the southern markets up here on the Sunshine Coast in particular, and probably the broader South East Queensland really. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I think South East Queensland will remain strong for the foreseeable future, to be honest, whilst everyone else is struggling. The reality is that there's other things in the background and other things that are coming and happening. It's not just the Olympics. There was already a lot of investment happening in South East Queensland, but that will continue to make that a strong investment case.
Yeah, for sure. What else is happening in your space, Hugo?
So I'm in China at the moment for a short family holiday, and I've been paying attention to real estate here and talking to some of the locals, and the market has completely crashed over the last few years, I think a couple of years or so, and the sentiment is really low. No one believes that it can actually come back up. But they understand why. They understand that it's because of the excess supply here. For a long, long time, the government was subsidizing the large construction companies here. They wanted to just keep building because they needed to keep the economy going and make sure that the economy itself didn't crash. And they needed to create jobs, etc. So they've overbuilt to the point where there's ghost towns in China. There are whole cities where the majority of the buildings are empty and the population is declining. So those buildings will never get filled. Australia, and the reason why I'm talking about this is because Australia is the complete opposite. The population is growing, whether it's through our natural increase in population or migration, and we already have a huge gap in supply, and it's too expensive and not feasible to build. So we have the opposite, and we have those fundamentals that I keep saying to everyone. If anyone is worried and thinks that this time it's different, oh no, it'll never recover, it always has, and it still has the reasons to recover. So get in the market now, if I haven't mentioned it before, without sounding like I'm trying to convince anyone to do anything. This is what I'm seeing in the market. This is what I'm seeing at the moment. And it's been a really good time these last couple of months.
Yeah, for sure. We've got some great deals for our clients over the last couple of months, it's for sure. Well, a lot of people have been sitting on their hands. We had the anti-money laundering changes.
Yes.
Through that, we've got a really good solution for it. Interestingly, now real estate agents on the buying and the selling side of it need to request extra information under the AML legislation that came in, do some extra checks, make sure that we've got, the client's identification. We know all the people behind any trust or any entities that are buying, whether it's the beneficiaries or the trustees. That's been actually a lot smoother than what we thought it might be, getting that information. How have you been finding it, Hugo?
Exactly like you said, super smooth, especially from our end. I think the team that we're working with to help us with the checks really nailed it. It's been really straightforward. We were well prepared. Obviously, we did a lot of training and preparation to make sure we were getting it right up front, including even on the selling side, has been really, really positive.
Originally, when they were bringing it in, I thought it was going to be fairly intrusive, which it kind of is still, but I thought that I wasn't sure how it was going to impact us and our business and buyers agents in general. But I think with it coming in, I think a lot of buyers will be a little bit concerned about giving their personal private details and financial information out to selling agents in our industry. So I think it's a good reason for people to consider also the value of a buyer's agent, because if they come on with a buyer's agent as a buyer, we're the ones that do all those checks initially, and they don't have to go and give all their financial information, personal details so much to the selling agents. We can sort of protect that a lot more than if they were doing the process on their own.
Absolutely.
Anything else you wanted to add before we finish up?
I'm looking forward to coming back in a few days and working through the remainder of winter in preparation for a big spring. So looking forward to that.
Very good. It'll be good to have you back. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Don't forget to follow the podcast Around the Grounds on Spotify. See you next time.
See ya.